In this video we're going to make the two rockers. These are the half moon shapes, one at the top and one at the bottom, that squeeze the two arms together when you tighten the screw to make the knurl. These are made from a piece of bar stock and we'll start as traditional by facing off the end. This is now turned down to a diameter of 0.825 of an inch. That looks close enough to me, I'll take that. Now these rockers will bear on the arms, so I want a nice good finish on these so you get a nice smooth operation. So I'm taking some of the machining marks out with one of those rubber blocks which is impregnated with abrasive particles. Can't remember what they're called, but they're very good. Then I'll just finish it off with the Scotch-Brite cloth. Yeah, that's a nice good clean finish. It's not polished, but it's good enough for a nice smooth operation. Now we come to parting off the rockers. Here's a neat trick for aligning your parting off blade. Put a 1, 2, 3 block between the chuck and the parting off blade, slide them up together, then tighten your tool post, and lo and behold, your parting off blade is perfectly aligned. I'm going to part this off slightly over length so I can finish it off with the normal turning tool. The finish I get with the parting off tool, it's not bad, but it's not as good as you get with the normal turning tool. And of course you always get that little nib in the middle because the turning tool doesn't cut right the way to the centre. Now this is speeded up. You can't part off quite this fast, unfortunately. Now the next task is just to turn it off to length. The pivot blocks are slightly narrower than the arms of the knurling tool. This is so that the pivot blocks don't bind on the side plates and the knurling tool is squeezed together to carry out a knurl. Now we need to cut off 2 blocks to make the actual pivot blocks. The pivot blocks are slightly less than half of the diameter. And you notice that this is the second block that's being cut. The camera ran out of memory card on the first cut. I've taken the usual approach of lowering the slitting saw down on a feeler gauge until I can just feel it drag, then lowering the slitting saw down on the DRO until I get to the right height. I've actually got quite a bit of run out on this thin slitting saw, so I've cut the blocks slightly larger than they need to be, and then I'll machine them down to the final dimension afterwards. Even speeded up to ludicrous speed. Cutting with the slitting saw takes forever. This is a homemade arbor for the slitting saw, which is much better than the cheap import one that I did have before, and I've got barely enough width to cut through the whole of the pivot block. These are the 2 pivot blocks cut off now. Now I'll just put them in the vise and level the tops with a parallel. It's not critical, they're absolutely level. Right, I'll touch off the tool against the parallels that the blocks are setting on, and I can zero it and raise the tool to the right height. Now it's just a straightforward job of milling the 2 blocks down to the right height. Now I'll deburr the ends because I need to indicate off these to find the centre of the blocks. And it's a simple job to find the centre of the block with the DRO, and now it's a case of drilling and reaming the first block to 1/4 inch. Finally we go in with the 1/4 inch reamer. Now a quick check with the 1/4 inch tool steel, make sure it's a nice sliding fit, and yes it is. The second block is drilled out to M5 to tap for M6. I didn't bother showing the drilling because this is boring enough just drilling. Must be really boring if you're just watching me drill. Anyway, then we tap it with an M6 tap. And that completes the operations for these parts. And there we have 2 completed pivot blocks. They were nice, easy parts to make, nothing particularly challenging, but quite fun to do. There's a few different operations there. The next job will be the arms. Maybe a while before I get that video out because there's quite a lot to do. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.